Hello everyone, my name is Chris Devine. I'm from Red Bus Bar. I'm an electrical engineer at Red Bus Bar. This presentation we're going to focus a little bit on what the installers need to know for the smoke site smoke alarms, and what that means is we'll have a brief overview of the family. We'll discuss the installation and the commissioning of the smoke site alarms. We'll talk a little bit about troubleshooting, and then finish off with how you might gain some support. Okay, so taking a look at the smoke site family, there's three smoke alarms in the family that have a common appearance. It's quite difficult from ground level to tell which one which. The types are as follows. There's a wired smoke alarm with mains power. There's a wireless smoke alarm that's powered by a 10-year lithium battery. And there's a gateway alarm that incorporates both wired and wireless interconnection, and it's mains powered. It's important to bear in mind that the smoke alarm hardware, that is the electronics that's is concerned with sensing smoke and sounding the smoke alarm, is entirely separate to the smoke site option card hardware, two distinct uh, parts of the smoke alarm. In the case of the wired only smoke alarm, the one at the top, there is no option card associated with it. In addition, the fact that the wireless, which is incorporated in the bottom two smoke alarms there, i- it's not a separate module. It's integrated into the alarm. So when you're ordering, just bear that in mind that you need to buy the right smoke alarm for the application. Okay, let's have a look at the interconnection function. A wired interconnection is capable of connecting up to 40 nodes, and the transit time across the network of an alarm signal is less than 1 second. From a hardware perspective, a single wire, typically 1.5 square mil, is used, and the return signal is via the neutral path, neutral circuit. Wireless interconnection, up to 24 nodes can be connected uh, to the system, and the system supports up to 4 hops. So in a situation where alarm A communicates to alarm B, and but alarm A can't see alarm C, then the message will be routed from A to B and B to C. So that constitutes 1 hop. So it extends the robustness of the network. It's a self-healing mesh, and what that means is that if one of the nodes on the network fails, the message will be routed via a different path to achieve communication to all the nodes. It's a 900 megahertz military grade network, so in that respect, it's very robust and well understood for its integrity. Smoke alarm communication is 100 meters line of sight, which is an unusual specification because you very rarely have that. You can relate that to an actual building, but we haven't had a circumstance yet with buildings whereby the radio signal hasn't been able to pass through reinforced concrete floors and walls. There is one challenge that we have seen on one or two occasions whereby an alarm in a remote outbuilding, for instance, a steel shed, uh, interconnection of wireless interconnection from that location back into, say, the dwelling that might be 50 meters away, uh, can can result in a poor wireless path. So that's something just to be aware of. Okay, so we've talked about the wired and the wireless smoke alarms. When we need to convey an active alarm from the wired smoke alarm segment, wired alarms on a wired segment, to wireless alarms on a wireless segment, we need a gateway alarm, and it's the gateway alarm incorporates both a wired and a wireless interconnection. The only challenge with the gateway alarm is where there's more than one gateway alarm on the network. So if we look at the example, if we look at the arrangement, network arrangement at the bottom there, imagine an alarm becomes active on the wired and wireless alarm on the left-hand side. Well, across the wired network, that active alarm would be reported to the adjacent wired and wireless interconnected alarm within 1 second. So that'd be a pretty quick response. However, to end up on for the wireless smoke alarm on the far right to sound, it's going to take about 5 seconds for it to, first of all, for it uh, to receive the active alarm, and that's all fine. It will sound no problems. If at a later stage the originating alarm on the left-hand side stopped alarming, then, or the reason for it to alarm extinguished, for instance, then it would take a passage of time before the wireless alarm on the far right-hand side would stop sounding because of the transit times. The alarm on the far right-hand side, which is just wireless, uh, however, is retransmitting that wireless signal back to the original wired and wireless on the left-hand side. What that has the effect of doing is it re-triggers the wired and wireless alarm on the left-hand side such that it then goes back into an alarm, but on this occasion, instead of sensing smoke, it's just simply responding to the interconnected signal. So the upshot of this is that the alarms are in a loop, but they never stop sounding, which is pretty disconcerting. The only way to stop them sound is to break the loop somehow, and often that means just removing one of the alarms off the base and breaking the hardwired circuit. The idea is to avoid this altogether at the outset and just simply have one smoke alarm that's got wired and wireless capability uh, active on the network, and this can be achieved by, for instance, on the left-hand side, simply turning off via the dip switch the wireless function on the wired and wireless alarm. Okay, let's have a talk quickly about the user interface of the smoke alarm. All commands given to the smoke alarm when are, are issued via the one test plus hush button. The status of the smoke alarm is reported by white LED flashes and beeps. So it's a very basic user interface, but it's able to, with a little bit of practice, you'll be able to um, interrogate and also control the smoke alarm. The top long box there identifies the operation mode, and that's the mode that the smoke alarm is in most of the time. It's indicated by a single flash and beep, pardon me, a single flash every 5 minutes. In this mode, it's possible by 1, 2, or 3 tap, interrogating the smoke alarm and understanding things for instance, the built node count of the smoke alarm. In that situation, a double tap will report first of all, the node type, that is the smoke alarm, whether it's a master or a slave, depending on the length of that beep, followed by the built node count. So a long beep followed by 3 short beeps tells you that it's the master alarm and that there's 3 nodes, including itself, on the network. In terms of configuration, 4 tapping from the operation mode will take you into the various menu systems. And those menu systems are detailed in the user manual. You can see that if we do a 4 tap, we drop down into the configuration mode. That is confirmed by every 10 seconds. There's 2 flashes and a 2 beep. So you can't really get lost in the menu system. It's always identifiable by the number of flashes and beeps that are reported every 10 seconds. doesn't really matter which uh, menu you're in within the configuration system or the configuration menus. A 4-tap from any of those will take you back into the operation mode. So that's as simple as it can be as far as the interrogating the status and also configuring the smoke alarm. So, okay, so we've discussed a little bit about the overview. Let's have a look at the installation and testing side. First thing I'll say is it's simple, but don't rush it. You just need to follow the sequence and you will understand why. Now, the sequence is detailed at smokesite.com videos. So you'll see there's a separate video there for each of the smoke alarm types. The videos will go through the mounting. There's a common mounting base for all smoke alarms, so that makes life a bit easier. The dip switches that are used to either enable or disable the wireless capability or the auto test capability, the battery install and how that relates to setting up the network uh, arrangement, and also the commissioning, the testing that you can do before you leave site to establish that the system is functional. Okay, so when it comes to troubleshooting, alerts are reported uh, via two methods. I mentioned earlier that the smoke alarm section is separate to the option card, and that extends right through to how it goes about signaling alerts in two different ways. If the smoke alarm functionality is compromised, then a chirp by itself will be repeated every 40 seconds. The counter of the number of chirps tells you whether it's a low battery or it's the chamber fault smoke alarm. Similarly, in many respects, is an option card alert, but this time it incorporates, as well as a chirp, a white flash, and that's repeated every 5 minutes. So straight away, you can see the difference between a 40-second repeat and a 5-minute repeat. So that's a clear indication of the differences. Option card chirps consist of low battery conditions, problems on the network, and should the auto test fail to hear itself during that period. It's important to note that with any of the alerts, you can pass on to your customers that they're able to silence an alert by a simple one tap of the test and hush button, and that will give them up to 8 hours of silence so they can get back to sleep if it happens in the middle of the night. Now, that can be, if 6 hours have elapsed in an 8 hour period, then by tapping the test plus hush button again, that will recommence the 8 hour timer. Okay, so for further support, plenty of help online through videos and the operation manuals. That's really our focus, to be able to convey to people how they go about uh, maintaining and troubleshooting their alarms. Of course, you can email us at support@redbusbar.com. Phone us anytime, and and visit us. By all means, drop in, and they're our business hours. Okay, thank you very much for listening to the installer presentation. Please visit our website so that you can click through to our Facebook page or join our newsletter. Plenty more new features to come. Bye for now.